Hello everybody, it's your boy N here. I'm coming at you guys with another YouTube video. So, Bunny's lightning emission has been massively buffed, specifically in Axion. So let me show you the best lightning emission build that you can use for Bunny in the Axion. Let's get right on into today's video. So, starting off with the actual modules for this build. Now, for Bunny's lightning emission, we are still going to be using electric condense. This is going to be here just to take care of elites or whatever boss spawns mid-mission, whether it be the pincer or whether it be the razor claw. And you can also use this on the dungeon boss. So electric condense is going to be our red module. It's just Bunny's best damage module, so it has to be used. Now, for our maneuvering module, we're going to be using mid-air maneuvering. This is very important because we are going to be flying around and pulling plenty of movement with this. You're going to need this one because we're going to be taking advantage of the spider/grapple mechanic. So, now that we've got the two beginning mods out of the way, let's focus on damage. Now, with damage for Bunny, we're going to go into crit. Critical hit Bunny is the strongest variation of Bunny, and crit Bunny is the Bunny that you are all sleeping on and you absolutely shouldn't be. So we're going to go with all 4 crit mods. Let's put them in a nice little line just like that. So we're going with all crit mods in this setup. Next up, let's focus on Bunny's range. Now with range, you only need 2 modules to hit range cap with Bunny, or almost range cap, and that's just skill expansion and amplification control. Next up, let's focus on cooldown. So for cooldown with Bunny, we're going to go with slightly less cooldown, but we will be compensating for it. You can see here we're going with MP conversion. This will give us cooldown, but of course negative MP along with it. Now, we do want to pull a little bit more cooldown, but we don't want to be tanking our damage. Because of that, what we are going to be using is focus on electric as well as focus on singular. So we've almost got max cooldown, so we're almost there. However, we're not going to be finishing this off with nimble fingers as we normally would to reach cooldown cap. Instead, for Bunny, because Axion does give a decent amount of drops, I would say go with maximize conservation. Now, this is going to of course tank our damage. We're at a negative 20% skill power modifier, but that negative 34 or 35% skill cost is going to be worth it in this instance. So this is essentially what we would rock in terms of modules. Now for the trigger module. For the trigger module on Bunny, there's a lot of variation. There's not a lot of variation. You're just going to go with the best one, and that is Power Beyond. Now, the reason we are going with Power Beyond is because it is a straight 15% skill power increase with no downside. The second effect, which is the drag everything into the center of the little tornado effect, does not apply to Bunny, but that 15% skill power buff does. That's why we go with it. In terms of modules, this is the modules that we're going to be running for this setup. So yeah, let's move on to the next part of the build. Now for the next part of the build, let's focus on the reactor. Now with the reactor, this is what we are going with. We're going with a hand cannon, scout rifle, and a tactical rifle mounting. So for Bunny, let me just quickly slide my weapons in over here. So we're going to go with a blue beetle for weapon number 1. For weapon number 2, we're going to be going with a Greg's reversed fate. And then for number 3, we will be going with the last dagger. So that's our weapons out of the way, and let's focus on the reactor again. We are going to go with an electric and a singular reactor because we will of course be focusing on Bunny's third ability, which is singular. This reactor is also a singular reactor as well, so make sure to remember that. Now, for the 2 substats at the bottom, I've gone with cooldown and crit damage. You could probably go with crit rate and crit damage and it wouldn't make a staggering difference. However, I still think that cooldown is very important, so we have gone with cooldown, crit damage. Crit rate or damage would be pretty good on here. Singular would also be kind of good on here, but crit overall does more than singular, and of course this is a crit build, so we are going to go with this on the reactor. Now, let's have a look at the external components. For the external components, we will be using 2 two-piece sets. Now, with this, I think the first set that we are going to be going with is going to be the Enlightened Mage set. So we're going to be using 2 pieces of this, and for the other 2 components that we are going to be using, once we can find them. Let me refilter this. There you go. Now we are going to be using 2 pieces of Ascending Armory as well. Now this is for skill cost, because remember, we've only got 1 skill cost module. We want our skill cost to be just a touch higher, and this is absolutely where we are going to be pulling that from. Next up, we're going with the Enlightened Mage sensor. This is because we are going with the 6% skill power, which is going to help our electric condense be a little bit stronger too. So yeah, that's what we're going to go with. You want max HP on here, as well as MP recovery out of combat, max MP and MP recovery in combat, and MP recovery modifier, defense or electric resistance, but defense is a little bit better. And then for here, max shield recovery modifier, or toxic resistance is all good as well. For your external component cores, you just want max HP and defense across every single one of these. So that's going to basically allow you to pull the most damage out, or sorry, the most survivability out of your bunny. Now let's have a look at the RK tuning tree. Now for the tuning tree with this setup, it is basically exactly what you would expect. So we're going to go over here, we're going to go down towards the skill cost and up towards the range. Then we're going to go all the way up towards the cooldown, because that is still a priority in this build. And then you can go down towards here for your crit rate. And then we're just going to go up here and go there for the electric cohesion cell. So we're still going with cohesion. Now you might be wondering, are we going to be taking advantage of the other cell, the electric catalyst chain cell? There's no need. There's straight up just no need. You can just straight up go with this, and yeah, that's basically the tree sorted. Now let's have a quick look at the rest of the setup. Now with the rest of the setup, there is the Blue Beetle, Greg, and the Last Dagger. For the Blue Beetle, this is what I've got on it. The substats aren't the most important, because I'm not really going to be using the Beetle for damage. We're using this weapon for its unique ability, and if you do want to copy the build that I am running on this weapon, this is what I am running. So yeah, there you go. Now the Greg is on here because the Greg is a very strong weapon, and we also want to be able to mix our elements up. Instead of just hitting raw electricity, because the mobs do eventually gain resistance, you want to have a weapon with some other stuff in your inventory as well. So I've got a fire weapon over here with the Greg's Reverse Fate, and then to finish it all off, I've got a chill weapon inside of the Last Dagger. So basically we use nothing but the Blue Beetle to kill everything, because we're using abilities, and then we just mix between the Greg, the Dagger, and Bunny's abilities for the final boss. That's essentially it. Now, inversion reinforcements. Let's quickly have a look at the inversions for Bunny. Now, the inversions with Bunny in this setup is going to be slightly different. We're going to be going with cooldown, because we do want to eventually take care and use condense a little bit, and this is going to help us. For the rounds module, or rounds inversion, I'm going with toxic rounds, just because we don't have toxic on any of our weapons, so another element to mix them up with. And then pain suppression for a little bit of additional HP. Basically that's what I'm going with Bunny. So that's the Bunny setup complete. Now I was going to say, depending on how much you enjoy this, you're going to really like the way that this Bunny plays. Now I'm just going to quickly run a crater just as a example on how to play this build. So I'm not even going to bother using the bike, because Bunny can just fly there using the Blue Beetle and that infinite grapple. So yeah, this is exactly how we play Bunny. Now we're just going to go straight in, and then we're going to use our first ability, and then we're just going to jump around with our third ability. And as you can see here, my Emission is hitting 400 to almost 500,000 crits on a lot of mobs, and Bunny is fast as anything, so you can obviously expect this to work like a dream. Now you're going to be using the grapple as well to just fling yourself around and basically just Emission everywhere. You just want to keep an eye on your arcane energy buff and just use your first ability whenever it's down. The Razor Claw is an example of where you would want to use Electric Condense. You just go up to him, Electric Condense him once in the face, and then he is going to have lost his armor and resistance from that. Then from there, I don't even know how I died. Excellent. Well, there you go. You can get jumped once in a while. Happens to the best of us. But you can just basically use your first ability, ignore this dude, and once he does pull up on you again, you can just jump him in the face and condense him, and eventually he'll just die. You can basically just ignore the big mobs for the most part. They don't really make much of a difference. In terms of the actual mobbing experience though, 400k crits is enough to just nuke everything, and even using your first ability a lot is going to help you with Bunny. Like I said, with that whole fusion synergy going on with Bunny, you want to be pulling as much crits as you can get, and this is definitely the way to get them. My animation on Condense just got eaten. We love it when that happens. But yeah, you basically just ignore this guy for the most part, or you could just straight up use Bunny's first ability to nuke him. That also works. He's not immune to a good kick from Bunny's first ability. Grab some MP over there, and yeah, basically good to go. Hit this guy over here, and we should be on the next phase. Yep, okay. Just give this a second, let them spawn in. This mission can take a second sometimes, but even with this, Bunny can technically shoot or nuke the ships with Condense, but the cooldown on this setup isn't as high as it needs to be able to do that effectively. So yeah, that's the thing. Other than that, we're just going to quickly take care and nuke this big ball sack over here. You can just swing around it, spam Bunnies one at it or stuff like that. But we're just going to nuke this big ball sack, because this is when the mobs would start getting resistance. But you can see there, a 30 million crit on the big ball sack, and everything's dropping dead like flies. The crit setup for Bunny is the superior setup, and a lot of people be sleeping on it because they'd be thinking that the non-crit is more consistent damage. In this instance, it's genuinely not. Critting is going to save you a lot more, and the damage over here is going to be significantly better. So yeah, make sure you give this a shot, or at least give it a try. You won't be disappointed regardless, but yeah, there you go. In terms of the rest of the mission, we're almost at the end now anyways. The boss fight is where it becomes a little bit of a gamble, because that's where the boss spawns in, and depending on his armor, it can either be really easy or really painful. So let's just hope that we can get a nice good boss fight out of here as well. Just run around, nuke these guys. Make sure to use Bunny's first ability too. Slam this over here. Okay, this is where we would do this. Use the 1, use the 4, straight up just jump at him. There you go. Use the 1 again. Use the 1 again. There you go. Bunny's first ability did also get a heavy buff, so make sure you're not sleeping on that first ability. The buff from there is honestly amazing. Make sure you're using your condensers as well. You're basically just going to want to run and jump around. Essentially, just make sure you lock in on that yellow armor on his head, and then you should be good to just keep rotating between the Greg and between the dagger. You can see here, this is a good example of what you would want to do. Just keep rotating it. Roll out of there. Finish him off with this. Easy. Boss fight, not too bad either. But this is the setup you'd want to run with Bunny. Does work really well. And a 4-minute crater. Basically only using Condense on the boss and on the Razor Claw. So there you go. An Emissions Bunny build for Axion. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. Obviously, if this works in Axion, it's gonna absolutely curb stomp in dungeons as well if you would like to use it there. But yeah, that's basically been this video, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. If you did, please do smash that like button. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing. I make plenty of videos on the first Descendant, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.